The fall of Rome.
Rome was a great civilization that grew from a small city into a large empire. Rome has influenced things we do even today. They were incredibly advanced and were doing pretty well at the beginning of the empire. However, all great empires must one day fall. Rome was such an empire. Historians today still argue about if the empire actually truly fell, or instead transformed into something new entirely. We are going to address this dispute.
There are many factors to consider when asking the question, why do empires decline and fall? We can get answers to this question by looking at empires from the past, specifically the Persian, Chinese, and Roman empires. One reason that empires fall is because of economic problems. We can see examples of economic problems in Persia. These problems were started by the rebelling of satraps, and then civil wars, revolts, and satraps with too much power. This hurt kings and the economy. So the kings raise taxes and hoard gold and silver, which means that there's less money in circulation. This hurts the kings and the economy, which leads to more civil wars, revolts, and even more powerful satraps. Economic problems were a large reason why the Roman Empire fell. Emperors would raise taxes and debase coinage, which would cause inflation. This caused soldiers to demand more money. Emperors would then need more money, so they would raise taxes, which started the cycle all over again. Another reason that empires fall is because power gets in the wrong hands. One of the reasons the Persian Empire fell was because the satraps got too powerful. One of the reasons the Chinese Empire fell was because the generals got too much power. Also, in Rome, the generals could seize power and further mess up the system.
Rome was an empire that rose through constant expansion. But through the crisis of the 3rd century, Rome could no longer control more land or afford to keep expanding.
During the 3rd century, there were a series of corrupt emperors which led citizens to lose faith in the Roman Empire. Rome's solution to this was to recruit barbarians to join the Roman Empire, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, these recruited barbarians did not necessarily have loyalty to the Roman emperor.
Since Rome stopped expanding, the Romans didn't have any new slave labor to use, which is what the Roman Empire relied primarily on to generate wealth and to run the farms. They also didn't have money or land because they stopped conquering, and they had less trade as they ran out of resources that they already had in their settled land.
Another internal problem was that soldiers only had loyalty to their generals and would try to instate their general as emperor. They would abandon the frontiers to put their general on the throne, doing so leaving the Roman Empire open to attack from Germanic tribes and the Persian Empire.
Because of the economic crisis going on and soldiers demanding more money, the empire needed to generate more wealth. This was done by the emperor raising taxes and putting less silver in coins. But the overinflation would wreck the economy because people would have to pay more, but they would get paid the same as before. This would cause the soldiers to demand more money, thus repeating the cycle. The constant civil wars led to a decrease in population, and at the time, there was also disease which wiped out a portion of the Romans. As population decreased, so would the wealth of the government because of the decrease in tax revenue.
There were some external factors that led to the downfall of the Western Roman Empire. The eastern part of the Roman Empire was more urbanized and was wealthier than its western counterpart. The Western Roman Empire also had less border to guard, so it was less susceptible to barbarian attacks. Because of their better conditions, the Western Roman Empire's military was also less barbarized.
There were several groups of barbarians that were trying to infiltrate Rome. These different barbarian groups included the Visigoths, the Huns, Vandals, and the Odoacer. However, a common misconception is that the different barbarian groups were trying to take over Rome. Rather, Rome just seemed like a better place to live, and the various barbarian groups wanted to join the Roman Empire, not beat it.
Slowly, due to its inner turmoil and external invasions, and a period of emperors each being killed soon after they gained the throne, the territory of the Western Roman Empire was split up into pieces by the barbarian groups, and slowly what was once the land of the Western Roman Empire ceased to exist.
The fate of the Roman Empire is a controversial topic. Some say the Roman Empire declined and fell when the barbarians pillaged the city, and others say it merely underwent a transformation and continued to exist. Some historians argue that the Roman Empire started to decline in the early 5th century during a series of barbarian pillages. They believe it fell in 476 AD when a barbarian king killed Romulus Augustulus and took over Rome.
The evidence of Rome's decline is very strong and shows Rome's downward spiral leading to its fall. In the 3rd century, Rome went through an enormous economic crisis. The empire could no longer expand, and they could not supply all the slaves necessary for their giant empire. This caused their economy to grind to a halt. Constant wars and overspending caused an increase in taxation and made the gap between the rich and poor even wider.
The emperor debased coinage in an attempt to create more money to pay the soldiers. This proved to be counterintuitive and caused prices to skyrocket as the money's worth decreased. The emperor continued to debase the coinage and raise taxes to pay the soldiers, and the economy's situation worsened. Some emperors refused to keep paying the soldiers, but that only caused revolts and invasions when the soldiers abandoned the frontiers. This crisis weakened Rome a lot and made it vulnerable. Rome's internal crumbling supports the idea of Rome's decline.
In 410 AD, the Visigoths successfully pillaged Rome in an attempt to better their living conditions. The city struggled under constant threat from these barbarians and were pillaged again in 455 AD. In 476 AD, the Roman emperor was deposed and the barbarians gained permanent control of the city. There were no Roman rulers on the throne in Italy after 476 AD, only non-Romans. This further supports the idea that Rome truly fell.
Not only that, but after Rome allegedly fell, the new states under the barbarians were weaker and smaller. The Roman city itself disappeared when the need for taxation was gone, and with that the Roman state. Long-distance trade and specializations of good disappeared when Roman state collapsed. The population slowly declined as well. The decline of trade and population, as well as a loss of infrastructure and state support, some historians view that Rome fell permanently.
However, others believe that Rome did not fall, but instead transformed. They agree that the Roman city did collapse along with the trade, but the Eastern Empire continued to exist. The eastern half continued to flourish for another century, building monumental Roman structures, and in addition to that, there were people in the West who still referred to themselves as Romans. They aligned themselves with Roman values. The fact that they lived on and saw themselves as Romans made some historians wonder if the Roman Empire did fall. What if the invasions of the barbarians were merely a stage in the evolution of Rome? The eastern half continued to exist, even as new rulers ruled the western half. So was that the transformation? Some say it was.
The arrival of the Christian Church also supports the view of a transformation. When the Huns took over Rome in 476 AD, Christianity replaced the polytheistic Roman religion. Popes took over the governmental responsibilities and affairs of the former Roman government, prolonging many Roman cultures. Because of this continuity of government, this event supports the idea that not everything in Rome was destroyed and forgotten. Rather, the power simply shifted into new hands. This supports the idea of a transformation.
In regarding both views, we believe that the Roman Empire first declined and then transformed at the end. It is true that the empire went through economic crisis as well as multiple pillages from barbarians. It is also true that it declined through loss of infrastructure, trade, and population. It is furthermore true that the Roman religion was replaced by Christianity. But because of the existence of the Eastern Empire, Roman canonical views, and the continuation of Roman governmental affairs by the Catholic Church, these points support the claim that Rome did in fact transform. This presentation was brought to you by Chloe, Anna, Ellie, Darshan, and Serena.